for coming out to the Power of Words panel. I have some of my friends that I want to bring out for you guys. Now, I know that usually on these panels people introduce everyone that's coming on with a little bio, but I thought I would go straight to the source, and I'm going to be reading you their Twitter bios, and we'll see if you guys know what I'm talking about. First, we got this one. I write books, including Looking for Alaska and The Fall of Our Star. Books are like tweets, except longer. I also make videos with my brother. Do you guys know who it is? John Green. Okay, next one. You guys are pretty good at this.
Hi, friends.
This one's pretty short, so I don't know if you guys are gonna get it. YouTuber, person, jerk. Allie Speed. Oh, good. Yeah, just walk however you want, girl. Okay, next one. Moms love me, cats love me more. That guy with the hair from YouTube.
My dad!
Okay, last but not least, actor, at Upworthy, writer-at-large, vlogger, half of Last Name Basis podcast, MTV Decoded host, constantly going over heads and stepping on toes, Francesca Ramsey. Hey, friend. So first question is, how do you guys feel about your Twitter bios? Are you going to change anything? Are you feeling pretty good about it?
Yeah, change your icon.
I literally have no answer.
Oh, okay.
Hi everyone, how's everyone doing?
Okay, so today we're talking about power of words, and I'm really excited for this panel, mostly because I admire and look up to a lot of the people up here, and I'm like excited to make new friends. And we're talking about kind of as content creators, what our power is with our words, you know, what we're doing to kind of call our audience to either be happy, be positive, get involved in kind of social activism or activism of any kind. And before we talk about how you guys use your words, I kind of want to ask you why you use your words. Like for me, for instance, I always say that I make videos because it's part of my therapy. I feel like I grew up not seeing someone that looks like me doing what I do and being happy or positive about it. So I would love some insight on why you guys make the content you make and use the words that you do to hopefully change the world.
I just want to... I'll speak first. No, I just like to think that I could improve someone's day with a video. So, if I can make one person smile, then that's something.
Yeah, I mean, like in the most basic into something like profound or trying to be an activist, just by entertaining someone and improving their day, you are having a profound effect on people's day-to-day lives, which is something that we've learned.
I like when I can throw like a message in there though, like at the end. But also to entertain too. If I could do it every once in a while, that'd be cool.
For me, it's okay.
It's all right.
I've always felt like, I'm not begging, I'm really not. I've always felt like an outsider my whole life. I mean, I was homeschooled, so I wasn't around humans for a large part of my life, and video to me is a way to make people feel like they belong, and proud to be as weird as they want to be. So that's how I like to represent myself.
So I really ventured onto YouTube because I was an aspiring actress who wasn't seeing roles that I was really comfortable with, and I wasn't seeing people like me represented in television. I was always getting called in for like these really stereotypical roles that had like no real thought behind them. So YouTube was really a great place for me to change the conversation and make the kind of stuff that I wanted to see.
First of all, I don't know why I'm on this panel, but hello everyone. Because you're beautiful, we love you. I guess the reason that I love making content and continuing to do it and feel so lucky to do it is that, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people, you know, like what we're talking about, relatability, a lot of people like struggle to relate to one another. That's a really huge thing, and I know it might be counterintuitive to like, you know, for me, it's a struggle. It's a little counterintuitive to like have people staying inside and watching my content. So like I'm almost like in a position where I'm trying to, I really need you to watch my videos because that's my job, but at the same time, I really want you to like not ever be inside. I want you to like go outside and explore and do amazing things and like have an incredible life and like find yourselves and lose yourselves and find yourselves again somewhere else. And so I'm trying to just, you know, maybe inspire a little bit of that.
How about you, John?
I think for us it's changed. I think for us it's actually changed a lot over the years. I think maybe we started out wanting to have a conversation with each other, and then we started out wanting to have a conversation with the community, and then we really wanted to try to, you know, be focused around educational content and you know, the idea that we can use words and video to help people and help ourselves kind of have a more engaged life and a life that's aware of some broader awareness. On that front, I feel like I probably have a very loud voice online, so I'm most interested to hear from people who have have more marginalized voices. So I'm probably not going to talk that much, but I do love you guys.
Okay, so this is something that I kind of selfishly want to know as another creator is, I feel like there's this balance between like how much you give away and how much you say and how you say it. You know, Dan, you made a video where you said a message for my younger self, and you said once you put anything on the internet, it's there forever.
Oh yeah.
Which is a very good point. But Felicia, on your Twitter, you say, I like to keep my tweets real and not waste people's time. So I'm interested in, like, for all of you guys, what is that balance? Like, how candid can you be on your social media, and like, how do you balance that between you don't want to be embarrassed by it later on, or you're like kind of looking forward as opposed to just being real and honest right now in the moment? How do you feel?
I mean, I just always...
Is it real on Twitter?
Do I try to keep it real? I try. I do.
How's that timeline looking?
I love it.
That's my dad.
You know, Applebee's. No, I mean, I don't do that. I try not
Sponsored.
to.
Sponsored.
I mean, to me, I try to treat everything I do online like I'm sharing an IM or a text with a friend. So I genuinely try to value everybody's time because there's so much attention grabbing at us all the time, and we only have finite numbers of seconds that we will live. Not to be depressing, but literally we're gonna die. So why are you cheering for Dad? He's so cute.
You're gonna...
But I'm just saying, everything that we consume changes our brain a little bit, like just neurologically. And so I just want to make sure that at least I value add in not only just content way, but just in a vibe way. I want the world to be better. I want people to accept each other. I want our differences to bring us together and not shame anybody. And that's why anything I do is always trying to add to that positivity so that people feel like they belong to whatever.
How about you, Francesca? How do you balance, because you're working with Upward and you're doing all these things and you're educating people online, but also you're very vocal about certain things and you're very passionate about them. How do you balance being real to, you know, what's going on in your head, but also being aware of who's reading?
Yeah, I mean, I like what Felicia had to say in the sense that I just try to be honest with myself and make sure that anything that I say online is something that I'd be comfortable saying offline. But you know, you brought up a point about being embarrassed by things, and I think that that's inevitable, especially because people grow and change. And who I was 5 years ago, while I'm the same person, I might not have the same thoughts or same values, and I think at any stage in our careers or just in our personal growth, we're going to be at a place where maybe something we said in the past is not something that we feel so good about or would stand behind. But I think that as long as we're really honest about our growth and honest about the mistakes that we've made, it's totally okay to screw up and say the wrong thing. I think that you just really have to be conscious and willing to say, like, hey, 3 years ago I said X, Y, and Z, and I'm not that person anymore, and now I'm moving forward, rather than like, shut up, block. Like, you know, that doesn't fix the problem.
It's hard not to be defensive, but it's so important not to be defensive. It's so important to be able to listen to that criticism and internalize that criticism and be like, oh my gosh, yeah, no, I'm sorry. I think that's one thing that's really hard for me, at least, about being a creator, is like, my initial reaction is to want to be defensive. But the proper reaction...
That's anyone, especially artists, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we're sensitive.
Yeah, we're vulnerable and sensitive, and so it feels like an attack. But in some cases, I think maybe it's phrased poorly, or maybe it is an attack. But in a lot of cases, you just need to listen. And it's really difficult to listen to each other online, I think, particularly to listen to marginalized voices and to do it better, like to do a good job of like making sure that your Twitter and Tumblr feeds aren't just like voices that already sound like you. But it's so important because, yeah, you get defensive. And you need to be able to like let it in and let it change you. Let the internet change you for the better.
I think it's really important to be educated and to educate. Because I definitely, of course, like, I don't know what I said 5 years ago. Maybe it was politically incorrect. I have no idea. Don't go back and look at my tweets.
Please.
But I'm really trying to learn, and I'm really trying to progress as a human. And if I see someone say something that I know now is not okay, I try to tell them that. And I try to tell them nicely, because maybe they don't know. Maybe they have no idea.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think, honestly, like what you're saying about not being defensive, I feel like when I get defensive, it's probably because there is something that I need to change. That's why I'm angry, because it's something that I don't like about myself that's coming out, and I'm like, oh, this is embarrassing, I'm crappy. But I think it's really cool, too, what you were saying, like, it doesn't necessarily have to be just that you are doing the educating. It's also something special and something that I think commands respect when you can show yourself going through that process, that change. I think that will be very encouraging to other people, even if you don't personally like have the voice or the words or really know how to go about trying to encourage people to be more accepting. If you just show your own self, growing and changing, that is enough sometimes, I think.
I mean, like the main things. The hardest thing to do is to like actually accept things that you think are maybe something that you've done wrong, or even things you want to change. I mean, like a terrible example is me leaving all my old horrible videos still public on YouTube. Because the point I made at the end of that message to my younger self video was that it's so important to actually accept everything that has like been your journey throughout your life. Like you can't just be defensive and try to hide everything, because in order to like actually grow and to kind of live the way that you should, you have to kind of come to terms with everything you do all the time. But not get really defensive and try to hide things, but to accept it and learn from it so you can grow, and especially showing other people that journey. I mean, anyone that wants to become a YouTuber that watches my old videos is like, wow, he was so bad.
I think we all feel that way though. I leave a lot of my videos up just because I want people to see the progression. Like, I don't want anyone to come on my channel and think, she just started with these lights and this camera and she edits really quickly. Like, I want them to know there was a time when 19-year-old Ton just did not talk to the camera.
You can always,
recording it on a baked potato, like I'm not sure what I was doing.
you can always flag it up as well, because it could be like a learning experience for other people as well. So if you did say something a bit weird, or like, oh, I don't feel that way anymore, you could just stick an annotation up there going, hey, that wasn't right, I don't feel that way now, and like look in the description for what my views of that are now, and then people could learn from how you've changed as a person as well.
Beautiful. If you guys want to ask questions, there is a hashtag, PowerVidcon. So if you want to use it at any point, I'll be going through those questions. If I see something good, maybe I'll get a little shout out. One of these lovely people to answer your question. Here's a thought. Okay, so when you're making your content, when you're writing your stories or making your videos or like writing anything, creating anything, how aware are you of your audience? And does that play a part in maybe how you present yourself when you're dealing with certain topics? You know, does it maybe hinder you from addressing certain things because you feel like your audience might react in a negative way? You had any experience with that, maybe?
I think self-awareness is very destructive to artistry. I think that, you know, to me, it's tapping your unconscious that is the most unique part of you in order to have your voice be pure and say something that will last of you, beyond you. And especially it's very hard on the internet because we're used to just kind of like throwing things out all the time that are a little bit subconscious, but we're always oversharing and we don't give ourselves the time to pause and collect everything and morph it into something different that could last longer. And I know for me, like unplugging and getting back to who I am outside of who I am out there is the only way that I've ever made anything that I've felt the most proud of. So, you know, I think it requires a lot of discipline to sort of cocoon yourself and make sure that your art and your voice is pure outside of what you want to achieve with other people.
But have you ever had a moment where you went to make a video, right? Or write something, write a post, write a tweet, and you stopped yourself because you didn't think that people would see it the same way you do? Like maybe the intent of what you were making was different than the impact that you could see it having. Or even if you put something out there and it had a completely different reaction to it than you expected, and it's maybe, I feel like sometimes, not that I've necessarily done a lot of this, but I've seen friends of mine on YouTube who put something out and it has a good intention, but the reaction to it's really negative and it makes them scared to kind of be open about something else in their lives or go down the same route. Have you ever?
I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but I definitely hold back a lot.
Yeah.
Like, anytime there's like a big debate on something or someone's doing something wrong and people are trying to educate them, or lack thereof, I never know if I should jump in or not, and I never know if that's a good or a bad thing, so I don't know, because I don't know if it's necessary, if other people are basically saying what I'm going to say, and I don't know if I should add to it, so I don't know if anyone knows if that's a good or a bad thing, because I don't know, I mean, like, I don't know, I really don't.
I think it's objective, too.
It's one of those things that I still, to this day, I've not decided if it's better to just sit silent on something, if someone else is doing something, or if, like, something's happening in the world, and just let it happen.
I want to talk to you, and I want you to talk to everyone, and we can all talk.
You know,
There's just no problem. I have no problem saying what I think about anyone or anything, and I think that also comes along with the fact that I'm not huge and don't have millions of people reading every single word, so I definitely think that that comes with a different level of responsibility. But I also do think it's a good thing if you think carefully about what you put out online, because, you know, like you said, you can't take it back. The internet is forever. And even if you do make a mistake, of course, you can apologize for it, but once it's out there, it's out of your control. So I definitely think it's a good thing to be conscious about what you put out there. In terms of censoring myself for fear of what my audience might say, that's a hard one too, but I do think that you have to be smart about what you put out there, and that if you don't say something now, that might not hinder you from saying it later on, or, you know, sometimes you have to like marinate on an idea before you really figure out the best way to kind of explain it,
or share it, and I think that there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, because there's like what you said, Connor, about like being afraid to weigh in on things. Because I'm like that too. Like a lot, because people drama all the time about like every single thing ever, and people would be really interested in knowing what my opinion is on something. But my policy is I don't like offering an opinion on something unless I feel properly educated on it, or unless I feel like my opinion is informed and I've thought about it and it's ready to go. Because whenever I make a video that's opinionated or kind of like discussing a complicated topic, like I made one about this nicer internet thing I did about cyberbullying earlier in the year. And that was just generally talking about kind of like, you know, mean behavior on the internet and stuff. But I spent like 30 hours kind of writing and planning and researching that video, because if I was to come out and make an opinion about like any of that stuff, I wanted to make sure I thought about every single thing I wanted to say. And even then, kind of like your other question, it's terrifying, because I'm like, I've done as much as I think I could do, but then I could upload it and then people would be like, you were either factually wrong or problematic about that thing. And I'm like, private. But you can try as hard as you want, but that's the thing, it's like, I really think that you should try to kind of only express opinions or kind of weigh into something when you really think that you're well educated and you're informed and you're doing it for the kind of the right reasons. Yeah.
It'd be hard to fit it all into a tweet as well. So
my God, yeah, Twitter, no way.
140 characters, you can't fit a lot of those opinions in. So if you did go back to someone and say, oh, I don't agree with that, you're just like, oh, Phil's weighing in on the drama, when it's not like that. It's
context.
Yeah, so I think sometimes, in my case, I've sent a DM to someone and said, do you think that was okay?
Yeah.
And done it privately instead, because I don't want to seem like I'm attacking someone publicly.
Because if you actually want to solve the issue, instead of just being like, whoa, attention, then that's probably a better way of it.
Yeah.
But that's why I was wanting to poke you. I think it has to do with what they were all saying. Like, that's really a good point to bring up, that, you know, being informed about something before, like, opening your mouth about it is probably a really good idea. And you made an amazing video about being an ally instead of speaking over people, and I think that's a really important point to make, and you did a beautiful job of that.
Yeah, I think it's great if you're not knowledgeable on a subject to kind of pass the mic to someone that is, especially when we are talking about marginalized groups that maybe don't have the same level of visibility or those platforms. There's nothing wrong with being like, I actually don't really know anything about this topic. You should check out this person because they made a great video, or an article that someone wrote, because, you know, a lot of times people will kind of steal the spotlight and it turns into their voice rather than actually giving a platform to those voices that don't get heard.
Yeah, I think so much of what's important is...
Did you guys hear Dan?
No one screams for me, I feel so left out. Tricked you.
What I was going to say is that I think so much of what's important is listening. Yeah, I think it's... and I talked over your cheers. Sorry. Yeah, I think it's about listening. Like, I made a video about... you made a video that really affected the way that I think about this stuff.
So much love.
Sorry, because, well, you talked about, like, it was the same video, but I remember I was making a video about, like, the sort of data-driven evidence for institutional racism in the criminal justice system, that, like, this is not a, like, political thing or a debatable issue. Like, there is this massive mountain of data that racism is real in the United States and that it's pervasive in the criminal justice system and everything. And I wrote the script and I sent it to a bunch of people because I wanted, you know, to hear from people, and all of them were like, this is all fine and good, but, like, you should probably amplify voices of people who are living this experience. And I was like, oh, yeah. And I think, like, that's a moment of me just being, like, blinded by my own experience and and that, I think, ended up being the most important thing about the video, was the sort of the videos that it linked to. And I think we all need to do a better job of that, because it's not just about using your words, it's also about being careful about and thoughtful about whose words you amplify.
I love your video about being allies, and I feel like that also for me changed a lot of things. It's a beautiful video. You need to go watch it, because, you know, it made me more aware of, like, when I'm sharing stuff on social media, that I'm not speaking over it in any kind of way. I don't necessarily have to insert my opinion or anything. I can kind of just share it as it is because it affects me or it moves me in some way, and hope that that information getting out there moves other people to educate themselves on a certain topic or social issues that are happening right now. What do we got here? Oh, here's a perfect segue. So, what happens when you get it wrong? What is the way to react to that if you have regrets about things that you put out there? I mean, John, I know that you dealt with talking about how certain language you've used in the past, you wouldn't do the same thing, that your view is your role as a storyteller has changed on what you think you should be doing. And also, Francesca, you know, you did Queen for a Day video that you've been very open about how you didn't realize that it was very offensive at the time, and it really took kind of other voices letting you know. So the question is, we're all going to kind of mess up at some point. It's bound to happen, and probably a lot, because a lot of us have grown up on this site, or just being a content creator in general, you're bound to fail at some points. How do you address that? Like, what's the proper way to apologize for that, to bring attention to it? Because I feel like there are some creators who get, again, very defensive and don't want to. Like, what is the best way to kind of go about that, have you found in your experience?
I mean, it's, you know, one of the challenges is that any apology that you make will never be as widely shared as whatever terrible, stupid, offensive thing that you did. And that's always a little bit frustrating, but it doesn't matter, because you should still apologize, and your core audience, the people who really care about your work, will know about that apology because they'll find it directly. And so that's my policy, which I have learned mostly from my brother, is to take a step back and take a breath and get past my own feelings of defensiveness and see you know, what I really think, and kind of let my heart be changed, and yeah, and then apologize. And when you apologize, do so like honestly and authentically.
Do you think it's important to kind of teach your audience? I don't want to say this, but I feel like there are some of us who really make it a point to our audience and remind them not to worship us in any kind of way and to really see us as people. Do you guys ever actively kind of remind them, whether it's through social media or your videos or what you're writing, that, hey, I'm just a person at the end of the day, I'm bound to make mistakes? Do you find that, do you do that, first of all? And also, have you found that it's changed the way your audience kind of accepts apologies and for things that you've maybe messed up on, or is more forgiving because they kind of, you know, they don't have you on this high pedestal of that you can't, you're falling down from in any kind of way?
I mean, I've had a couple incidents where I tweeted something, and the interesting thing is the reaction and how it affected me. Like, for instance, there was one where it was something that was way too glib about self-harm, and I tweeted about it, and it was just unconscious, and I got such a negative reaction, rightly so, and I literally was ill for days. I apologized, and a lot of people didn't think the apology was good enough, and those people, the most aggressive, really unforgiving, were the ones that made me so incredibly sick. And it's almost like I have flashbacks to that. Versus, and now I'm fearful of anything. I tiptoe around, and I know that there's a block in me that's like, I definitely don't want to ever do something like that again. Versus, like, another time I tweeted about, you know, something, I used the word, the OCD. And a woman politely said, hey, just for your record, that's not something to actually, you know, use lightly. Some people, you know, and I was, my brain
Well, he's just
opened
looking
up.
at me because she knows I have OCD.
No, not at all. No, I'm just like, my brain was opened up in a way that I just never would have thought like that. And I literally, as a person, changed for the better. And it was interesting because the two incidents, you know, obviously I was educated, but I was educated by being punished in a very aggressive way, and by certain people who just wouldn't let it go, and, you know, I get it. But then I was educated in a gentle way, and I don't know if there's a way that I would love to be able to propagate that thing, where we're not punching somebody in the face necessarily if something's accidental. You're gently guiding somebody to be more enlightened.
I mean, I think there's definitely a thing where people, yeah. There's a lot of people that genuinely care about kind of of like educating people and correcting people, and there's a lot of people that just love to get mad and angry about like anything that's a problem. But the thing is, everyone has to learn that like if you really actually want to change, if you care about the issue and your end goal is for the issue to be better and people's awareness and education about it to be better, you need to accept apologies, and you need that kind of gentle approach, because firstly the people need to obviously apologize and show that they've learned, but then the thing needs to be, we accept that, we're going to allow you to learn. I mean, as long as you take responsibility for it, but it's, no one, I think there's definitely people that just love to be like, I'm not really, into the issue, I just want to kind of get angry at someone, and it's the same kind of angry on the other side of the fence, really. It's about the attitude. It's like, you could be really hateful to someone, but you could be really hateful to someone in how you're criticizing them for doing something that, they might have been ignorant about before. So it's really important for everybody to have kind of like a positive and, nurturing attitude to
that's
kind of
that's
educate
such a
people.
good point. Like to find a way to redirect them. Like instead of just saying, like, I don't want to liken it to training a dog, but seriously, if you tell it, I mean, really, it's that simple. Like, we need these steps too. We can be trained as well, and it's a good. Like arf, yeah, arf. That was
I was gonna say, leading by example is very important.
Yeah, like with my dog, like when he used to, this is so stupid, whatever, I'm gonna tell you anyway. My dog jumps on people when they come to my house. He used to. And every single time someone would come in, he would just like jump all over the person. It was scary for them, it was scary for me, I was afraid he was gonna get out, someone was gonna get hurt. So I tried so hard to say like, no, get off, stop doing that, and none of that worked. And then one day I said, can you bring me a toy? Go get a toy. And every single time when someone comes to my house now, my dog goes and gets a toy instead of jumping on people. And it's like, it's the same thing. Like, instead of jumping on someone, like, like finding a way to redirect and say like, hey, that's not really, like, what you just said is really not that great, and here's why. Like, you need to help them. Don't just say like, you're terrible and I hate you. That's really hurtful, and that's really not beneficial for, I don't feel like it's beneficial for either one of you. It's gonna make the person feel terrible, and you're gonna probably not feel that great that you're being really hateful all the time. So it would be much better if you can redirect them kindly, and then you can both grow and learn something together, and that's like the realest connection that you could ever have with someone.
So I'd like to just present an alternate thinking on this. Because I do agree that sometimes people can be extremely, go too far in terms of harassment and really shame people and make them feel terrible. But I also think it's really important to remember that anger is a very valid feeling, especially when sometimes we are talking about life and death situations, like situations that really affect people's daily lives and end up with people being killed. There's absolutely valid reasons to be angry in those instances. And I also think it's really important to remember that it is awesome when people take the time to educate each other, and that's something that I really try to do. But I also think we also have to take responsibility for our own education, because unfortunately I could spend all day, every day explaining to people why blackface is bad, or like why I don't want you to touch my hair, and I could literally do it all day long, and it's really exhausting. So I think we have to remember to be respectful of people's boundaries when someone is not in the position to educate. Maybe they're not in that space right now, or this issue is really upsetting for them and they don't want to talk about it any further. To respect that space and say, you know what, Google is free and here for all of us to use. There's no reason that I can't take 5 minutes to Google, rather than saying, because I get in a lot of situations where people are like, prove it to me, explain this to me, and I'm just like, okay, well, here's a site that you can read, and they're like, no, I don't want to read, I want you to explain it to me. And it's like, maybe I don't have time, here's a video you can watch, or maybe I don't have time, or I'm not interested right now. So I think we have to take ownership of our own education as well, as often as possible.
As creators, I think just by what we were just talking about, we have a lot of empathy for other creators who mess up along the way, because at some point we've had the same thing happen to us, and it's a question of, is it someone being angry and forceful that changes your opinion, or is it someone being gentle? So what do you do when another content creator, someone in your field, a peer, does something but doesn't respond to you either being gentle or forceful, just kind of continues doing what they're going to do? Or do you feel like you have personal responsibility to call out a peer when they're doing something or saying something that you find harmful?
Yes.
Yes.
I think you do have a responsibility. I think maybe you don't have a responsibility to brigade. If there are 17,000 people who are already on it, then that's different. But if you feel like something is going unacknowledged, then yes. And I also think you have a responsibility to kind of cut ties.
One thing I like to do is if someone does say something bad and a lot of people are correcting them and they're not addressing it, I think not an indirect to them, but an indirect to the topic does just as much justice. That's hard to say. By just like giving your view on the topic, but without addressing who said what.
Right, especially if it's in the middle of a brigade.
Yeah, exactly. Then I'm like, then I can give my view and I can say like, this is not okay for this reasons, but you don't need to direct people to like go hate that person. Because I think that's a lot of people bandwagon on the internet, and I don't like that. So if someone hates someone, then everyone else is just gonna hate them because they're like, oh, he hated him, that means it's okay. And I don't like when that happens.
Or if a lot of the time someone might articulate it a lot better than you feel that you could, so you can just retweet someone that you agree with on the topic as well, rather than get your own point in there as well.
Another example of like, amplifying the voices who are directly affected rather than being like, here I come, Mr. Hero, to tell you about what's good and just.
That's not, like, it's not about you. That's like,
right.
you talk a lot about like recognizing privilege and like checking that. That's really important too. Like, it's not about you.
I think this is a good time to kind of think about there's a difference between calling out and calling in, where calling out is a really public, like, hey, this person did something really problematic, or like, this racist thing happened and I want to talk about it. Where calling in is kind of like a, hey, can we go to coffee and like talk about this thing that happened? And I think that a lot of times the knee-jerk reaction is to call out, especially if it's a celebrity or a television show that I don't have access to. I can't call that person over for coffee, but when we do have the opportunity because we're friends with them or we've collabed with them, like, I do think we should take the opportunity to take that conversation offline and to do it in person, especially when it's someone that you really care about and a relationship that you do want to foster. Because sometimes it's like, whatever, I hate that person anyway. Like, I'm not going to waste my time. But when it's someone that you really care about and you're like, damn, I really thought that they were better than that. Can we talk about this because it really hurt me? I think it's really important to know when the call out is better versus a call in. And sometimes the call out is not even about that person, it's about everyone else learning from the experience. And because sometimes some people aren't going to learn or they're not going to change no matter what.
Yeah, and sometimes it's so much bigger than a specific person's actions. It's more about, this is a problem overall, and you're just part of this problem. So let's find a solution together, and like, let me bring attention and educate you in some kind of way, because I have that opposite point of view here. Yeah, you don't have to clap for that, it's fine. So beyond criticism from your peers and things like that, and I know this is a question that everyone gets asked on every panel, but I really value your guys' experience with this. How do you deal with the hate or the trolls or anything like that? Like, I know you made a really good video about how you go about it, but the question is, do you engage with it? Do you ignore it? Do you disable comments? What's your process going through that?
I think it can be really hard to ignore, but I think it's also important not to spread more negativity. So if someone's being really negative, they're obviously just being a complete troll. There's no point in replying because that's what they want. And also, that's just going to spread more negativity in the world. So if I see something horrible on my Twitter, I'll go and reply to 5 nice things instead and then try and forget it. And if it is someone that's repeatedly doing it, it's just block or report or mute.
Block button is your friend.
Yeah.
That's like been a really, I've had like discussions with people and been on panels where that's kind of like a polarizing thing. Like, there are some people who really believe that blocking someone is blocking their voice and that that's like a violation of like your right to free speech. And my response to that, I guess, would kind of be like, when I'm trying to block someone from being really hateful on my channel, it's not usually because they're saying something hurtful about me, it's because they're bringing up something that's hurtful, or they're bringing up something that's hurtful to other people. Like, when people on my channel start attacking other people that are viewing my channel, that are especially like regular viewers of my channel, I really don't like that. And I don't know, like, I even have struggled with this, and I don't even really know if I have like an answer at the moment, but the way that I feel about it in terms of being a violation of like someone's right to free speech, it's not really, because this is like a channel that I'm operating on, and I'm not preventing you from saying it. I'm preventing you from saying it from behind a keyboard and being really rude to a bunch of people. And if you would like to come to me directly and say it, no, that's not like come straight to my face. But really, like, if there's something that you want to talk to me about that is serious and you feel is a problem, or you want to offer me something constructive, or you want to like, you know, just have a conversation, that's fine. That's your free speech. But don't, I don't know, like, just don't go on someone's channel and just blast through people. That's like, that's, to me, that's not what the community is about.
Yeah, there's a huge difference between criticism and trolling, and we all know what it is. And I know that sometimes it's a bit of a fine line, but at some point you just have to say this is unacceptable. I think it's also important to acknowledge that this is, in general, a vastly different experience for men online than it is for women. That men online, the comments that I see in my videos versus the comments that I see in Rosianna's videos or in some of your videos, it's just, there's no way, it's not even comparable. So I think you have to
and for LGBT and for people who
for any marginalized people.
Completely different experience online for us. Like, no shame, but my comments are a shit show.
Yeah.
Even when I'm not talking about race or when I'm doing something like completely positive.
No, I mean, when I go in the comments of your videos, I can't believe that those people can type. Some of them. It's horrifying. So yeah, I think like that's really important to acknowledge. But I don't. I'm not afraid to block people if it's hurtful. You have to take care of yourself.
I mean, I've been around for a long time, and I've seen a lot of really, piling on over the years. And to me, it's a really interesting thing where we started the internet, where it's like this, all we're thinking about it as public space, like a park. And now we've evolved that we're so large, and we have such investment in it. This is a reflection of real life in a way, and we're moving from public space to private space. And to me, my channel, my business, Geek and Sundry, my Twitter account, like, that's my house. That's my coffee shop I operate. And I'm not gonna let some guy come in and just punch me in the face and be like, I'm standing here and I'm gonna keep standing here and punching you in the face. Like, that's my right.
In the face? Like, that's like a thing that has happened. Like, you're like,
well, no, I mean, virtually punch me in the face. Like, hopefully nobody will do that to me. But like, it's my prerogative to eject people from my public private spaces. And I love to look at every single person as a potential friend. And maybe that person has a background who they're raised in an internet environment where that one-upmanship and that hatred is cool. And like, we're all just trying to fit in. And maybe they're from, a place where that's cool. And if they come into my place, maybe I'll give them a chance. But so I try to foster an environment where, hey, you're really mad at me, but I'm gonna hug you and maybe you can hug back. Or if I click on your profile and your profession is to be, I hate your face, you're stupid, well, that person needs to leave the coffee shop.
Yeah, if I get like a blatantly just hate comment, of course I'll block them, because there's no point. Or there's a point just to block them and let them be, because they're not going to do anything good. But if I really want to address something that someone is sending my way, I use the whole, I forget what the method is called, but I'll type it out and then I'll let it sit. I type it out and I let it sit, and I'll like wait an hour or a day, or I'll go sleep on it, and then I'll come back to it and be like, okay, am I so really angry at this person? Does it really matter that much to me? 9 times out of 10, it does not matter to me.
I'm really bad
It
at
was all that, really? It was all
I'm horrible. I like, the minute something happens, I respond to it. I mean, it's very well written.
Yeah.
I've been spending my entire life crafting it in my head. It's just that it's always like happens.
But it always gets to the point where it's like, is it necessary? And I always figure out that if I wait a day, it's never like, there's no point. It's so unnecessary half the time for me. But maybe it's different for other people. I don't know. I just get a lot of stupid hate comments.
Unfortunately, everybody deals with hate online. Like, even people who have like 100 views on their video, you'll see like a really nasty comment. It's kind of unfortunate that it's part of the internet experience, but the thing that I try to keep in mind, and I hope that you all keep in mind too when you get those nasty comments, is that usually when we say something really hateful about someone else, it's really more of a reflection on ourselves. And I even had that when I realized, like, oh, I don't like that person, and I don't really know why I don't like them, and then I'm like, oh wow, because they're really pretty and successful, and that's why I don't like them. And so you kind of have to remember that the people who invest all of their time in bringing other people down, or you go to their Twitter feed and it's just them saying negative thing after negative thing, like, people who are happy and confident in their offline lives don't spend their entire online lives talking shit and trolling people and making memes about people that they hate so much, but like, you think about me enough that you make memes and pictures and fan fiction and GIFs about how much you hate me. So
obsessed.
You know, why? Yeah, so I think that if we can keep that in mind, I mean, it's easier said than done, but I think as long as you can remember, like, it's not, you have to feel sorry for them, because that's what they're looking for, to feel validation and feel better about themselves. And people that are really happy and confident in who they are and are happy with what they're doing in life don't have the time or interest to do those things.
Just like shed a single tear and press block.
One tear. Bye.
Single tear.
Because I think, like, you can unpack, like, it's not as simple as just like, this is hate. Like, you can have like a genuine piece of negative criticism that is just worded with a horrible amount of emotion. But the thing is, like, once you realize that great point about, like, all hate isn't just like a fact or a true thing. Like, a lot of it is just kind of like a representation of the person that's saying it. It's like, there's a moment where I realized that, and I just completely stopped like being affected like at all by anything. It's like, because I can look at something and I just try to pick apart, like, how much of that is actually an opinion, or like how much of that is a criticism. Like, is there a criticism of me down there somewhere that I can kind of try to think about myself? Maybe that is actually something they're saying about me that I could think about and learn from, and then put everything else to the side. Because, like I said, like, no one has time to, you know, educate everybody or respond to every single person. So, especially when you get to a point of certain popularity, it's just completely like a waterfall of mess, and you can never do anything. You just have to kind of, it sounds really weird, but you have to just accept everything. That there's nothing there's so much of it that there's nothing you can do about it. So, like, I learned to just kind of not be affected by it, by realizing that it's all just individual people. And literally, like, any faceless troll is actually just like a really sad person. It's like, you're either a sociopath or just like a really sad person. If they're a sociopath, then you shouldn't care. And if they're a sad person, that's just really sad.
Or they're a sad sociopath.
Yes.
Could be both.
How do you deal with that?
There's a movie in there somewhere. Sad sociopath.
You can help yourself as well, though. Don't seek it out, because there's some people that will search like indirects of their own name.
@Dennis not on fire fat.
And then reply those people. But spend your time looking at the positive stuff rather than searching negative stuff about yourself. Because it can be quite addictive. It's like, ooh, what are they saying about me today? But you don't need that in your life at all.
I don't ever do it. Like, I did it, like, there was a period where I was like, it's really fun searching my own name.
No.
I was like, no.
That's a horrible idea.
So it's like, just for my own mental health, I just don't. You know what I mean? It's like, when you're talking to someone, then you have conversations with your followers. You know, it's like, reply to comments on your Facebook page, reply to comments, reply to tweets when you posted something, and all that stuff. But just don't, like, search your name for no reason, because you're just going to find opinions that just mildly annoy you all the time, and there's just no need to do that. So.
I had an experience last year where I'm the plus size woman whose butt photo was taken down from Instagram. That's like my byline, I guess. But I was really fine with everything that happened, because I felt really okay with what I was doing and what I was saying. Like, I knew I was on the right path and I was saying what was true to me. But then there was a point where I got up on BuzzFeed, and I had the mistake of reading the comments. And I think it's hard when you have such a community, like I've been doing it for so long, that my subscribers are so nice, and they're so accommodating, and they're so, like, they love each other, you know, they help each other in the comments. And it's almost like I can tell when a video gets placed a certain place, because all of a sudden you start seeing all these negative, horrible comments that I forgot existed. It was like 2006 YouTube again, and it flashed me back to that. And I remember I went to visit my mom, and I was really, really upset about it, and really down in a way that I hadn't been in a long time about comments. And her advice to me, because she's the best person in the world, and I'll censor it because there's kids here, she said, F those people, Megan, they don't know who you are. And I think that's like so important, and something that people, she challenges me. But I think it's important, and sometimes it's hard because, you know, what we're doing is so solitary sometimes, and we're in our own heads, and we're in charge of everything that we're putting out there. And I think it doesn't get talked about enough that we need to surround ourselves with people that really remind us how great we are, and like not just on the internet, but offline, to kind of remind us that we're on the right path, we're doing the right thing. And I think that like that whole experience has just really changed the way that I look at comments and the way that I look at reactions to videos, because I always feel like if I'm getting negative critique, and I'm getting, not even critique, if I'm getting hate for something that I know is right, I know that I'm doing the right thing because I'm putting something out there that the right people are going to see. And I'm not arguing with the people that hate me for being fat or being whatever. I'm trying to like get all those fat girls that see me and know that it can be done, and hopefully not read the comments. God bless.
I think another... I'll just piggyback on great mom advice. My mom told me, don't worry when they talk about you, worry when they stop talking about you. And especially in our profession, a view is a view, even if it's a nasty comment comes along with it. So at some point you kind of have to remember that even when you do get those negative comments, if you propelled someone to think about your content, if you propelled someone to take the time to say something, because you know, our voices are really powerful, and the best way to show someone that we don't like their content or we don't support them is to not watch, to not comment. I see lots of people sharing videos being, did you see this terrible thing that happened? Like, watch this. And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna watch that because I'm not gonna give them attention for this horrible thing that they did. So if people do take the time to comment, even if it is something really terrible, you kind of have to think in some small way you kind of affected them, and maybe today they don't get it, but maybe like a month from now they get it, a year from now they get it. And our visibility is our job. So like, keep watching and bring your hater friends.
When's your haters?
Yeah, one thing my brother told me a couple of years ago, I got really frustrated because suddenly comments got really negative because we'd been featured on Reddit or some big news site. And they were really hurtful, and they were like about, you know, they were just really hurtful. And he was like, you've got to remember that you only see those comments, like you literally cannot internalize the positive ones. But the good news is that every time you see one of those comments, it also means that there's somebody who is, there may be somebody who's becoming a new nerd fighter. Like there may be somebody who's discovering a community that's going to matter to them. And you just literally don't see that comment because the only thing that you can see, not least because YouTube's comments algorithm is not good, is the hateful ones.
I've changed in the way that I deal with comments, I feel like, even responding to them, because back in the day, I always used to respond, it's always nice to meet a fan. It's always lovely to meet a fan. Like, they'd be like, please kill yourself, it's always nice to meet a fan. You're the worst thing that's ever happened. I hope that you enjoy my music, here's my iTunes. Like I just kind of like, almost trolled it in a sense. I was like, yeah, keep clicking these ads, like keep coming back to this video and arguing. But now that I think I realize that we all have a platform, and it's not even, I don't know if you guys feel this way, but it's not that I just feel personally responsible for what I'm doing and making sure that I'm making content that is true to me and is, you know, healing to me, and also to educate everyone that's watching me and like, you know, bring them on board. But it's also, I look at those comments, I look at those arguments happening now, and I've become, even in the past week, I've become real happy with that block button, because, you know, I'm concerned for my audience's self-care too. I don't want them, it's fine, like come at me all day, every day, I've heard the worst things about my body and who I am a million times, and I can handle it, but like I'm concerned for the 12-year-old that's reading that comment and thinking, people really do think that, people really do hate me, and that my message isn't enough to kind of overpower everything that, you know, these like faceless people in the comments are kind of putting there. So.
Protect your audience in that way. It's going to keep people coming back, and it's going to create a real community. And I know people have like, people make fun, not make fun of, but people have commented to like, oh, don't say that like your subscribers are your friends, like you don't know them. And I'm like, honestly, that's not true. For me, I'm not like a massive YouTuber, and so for, I mean, I don't get me wrong, I appreciate everyone that I have that's with me and has stuck with me, but I really do feel like those people are my friends in a lot of ways, and that they're the reason that I'm here, and I feel a responsibility to them. And like, yeah, I know that like, I know what I look like. I've been around.
I've seen it for a long time.
Years. I've seen myself. Like, I know what I look like. It's not insulting when someone comments to my appearance. It's just, it's horrible when they attack each other.
Yeah, but people always gonna attack you and make you try to feel other. I'm sure somebody's like, you're too pretty. I'm like, what are you, I've said,
That's so weird.
You're way too pretty. But there's something in, especially when you get popular, you're not gonna please everybody.
Yeah.
If you're pleasing everybody, you're doing something wrong because you're not really being true to yourself almost. And especially, over the years I've seen where you uptick in popularity and you go up and down, and inevitably when you're open to a brand new audience, some of those people are gonna hate you just for the principle that you're more successful or you have a voice that they don't recognize and they just immediately will push back against something different. And you have to somehow just create an environment for the people who like you that they want to connect with each other, the positive ones. And the negative ones, whether you push them out or try to change them, like they should be as small a percentage of the hatefulness as the positive. So if it's 1% who are haters, winnow it down. So make sure that they're only a tiny percentage of the people who love your work.
We have a few more minutes, so I have one more question that I want to ask you guys. And obviously, going off of this great hour that we've had, thank you guys so much for coming out and tweeting at us and being a part of this entire thing. Is with what we do, I think there's a lot of criticism sometimes that words aren't enough, right? That social activism isn't really doing anything. That we're not really doing anything important. But do you guys believe that? Do you think that it's enough, like getting it on a video or tweeting out something is enough to change the world in any kind of way?
Even if you can't change the world, you're changing individuals is the thing. You know what I mean? So it's like I get emails from one person that's like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing with my life because I don't know what to do for college, or you changed my self-worth perception or this, that, and the other. And I have no idea or like the mass scale, but just seeing the individual things that that makes it worth it. So you can't. Can you change the world? It's like maybe you could if you were like the president or something.
But you're changing people.
You can't even remotely begin to describe how influential and important anyone, even any of you guys have 5 Twitter followers, you could influence one person, and that's like a butterfly effect of kind of inspiring.
Like a drop in a pond creates a ripple.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you can still reach someone. It can go to other circles. It can go to other people. It's definitely possible. And I don't think anyone up here feels like, oh, I'm changing the world. But maybe doing, and that's awesome. Sorry, but no.
Damn it, Allie. Taking my entire thing.
I think that it is. I think we have a responsibility. I know people that get involved in YouTube and who get a lot of followers, a lot of subscribers, a lot of people listening to their voice. Sometimes, I've heard conversations and I've heard people say I'm not an advocate. I didn't choose this. I didn't choose to be an advocate. I didn't choose to be this in this position. I'm lucky that I'm here, but now I feel weird. I don't really know what I'm responsible for. And I'm like, well, that's great because this means this is an opportunity for everyone to learn something. You and everyone who's with you. And so I think it is your responsibility. It is absolutely your responsibility.
It's good to embrace
it. Say matters. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the two things that I'd say are just that first off, we all matter in internet discourse because we all choose together what the comment sections of YouTube looks like. And so even though I know sometimes it can be an intimidating place to be, I hope that when we bring our positivity and sort of love for the platform and for each other into it, that can make it better. And the other thing that I would say is I do definitely feel a responsibility, and I do think that internet activism works. Internet activism alone maybe doesn't work, but for me a great example of this is the We Need Diverse Books community, which emerged out of a big conversation, especially in young adult literature, about how little representation there is for people of color and for the LGBT community in books for teenagers. And, for a long time that was just a discussion and it was just things that were happening on Tumblr. And then it was a real charity. And then it was, helping young authors of color to get access to publishers and agents. And now it is this thriving, nonprofit organization that's really making a big difference. So I know that internet activism works because I've seen it work. It can't end on Twitter, it can't end on Tumblr, but it can definitely start there.
I think what's great about what we do is that we spread verbal awareness. example I can give. I think that me making a coming out video isn't necessarily going to change. Isn't going to necessarily change a law, but I think it's going to make so many more people aware of that topic and aware that that thing's okay.
But it did.
And that it's normal.
Law. It did.
Yeah, but like, yeah.
Marriage equality.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. And it's educating a generation, because a lot of people who are on the internet are a younger generation. It's educating the future, and then eventually laws will change. So I think it's very important to spread awareness of that. Go me! I video made that.
Well, I think we should end on that note. I think that was pretty good, you guys. I think we killed it. I feel good. Oh no, I'm sorry. You can see us the rest of VidCon. It's okay.